What it do, y'all? What it do? Let's talk about New Year's Evil, the NXT episode from January the 6th, 2021. An epic show, fantastic show. I can't wait to get into it. All right, so the first match was Karrion Kross versus Damien Priest, and what is a really good big man match. I love the strike exchanges. I love that they tried to make some of their offense look legit early. Of course, they kind of threw that out the window a little bit later, but early they basically, exchanging strikes, and they were even checking kicks, like in MMA where you put your knee up and you would check the kick. That was pretty good shit. This was the first time second time Kross has wrestled somebody as big as he is. The first time was Keith Lee, who was actually bigger. So Karrion Kross's intimidation tactics wasn't really working. And his strong arm tactics weren't really working. And, Priest was able to withstand a lot of, real devastating offense that Kross was able to throw at him. And what was very interesting is because they're two big guys, they kind of had to tell the story of one of them was being, Kross is very aggressive and very, I already said the word intimidating, but he's very aggressive, very vicious. So they had, instead of having Damien Priest sort of just absorb punishment or even try to engage in a one-on-one striking exchange, which he could do. He did that a little bit. What they did was they kind of utilized Priest's agility a lot. Like he did a lot of high-flying moves in this match that normally I would say are unnecessary. But in the match and the story that they were telling, where Priest was basically trying to throw Kross off his game by, showing how tough he is, but also adding that element of I can do these things that you can't do, like the double springboard senton outside the ring, which was, real crazy. And, I like that they were using Priest's agility to overthrow the aggression of Kross. So that was really good. The finish came with the Doomsday Saito, which is usually it's kind of his own finish, and he did a running forearm smash, which I thought was kind of weak at first, but I was okay with that. I liked it that and that was the finish. So I guess that's going to be the end for Damien Priest in NXT, but we'll get to that in a moment. I liked that as Kross was throwing like his heaviest stuff. Priest was just standing there, kind of like I'm still standing. You a bitch. You can't take me. You can't take me out. I'm still here. I like that. I like that sort of defiance. And I like that Kross actually sold it. Like he sold it, physically. And I also love that when Priest had the offensive advantage, Kross would close up. I used to love this about Mr. Kennedy. When he was getting the corner, he'd close up. Like in boxing, you try to block as many of those punches and stuff as you could. That stuff was good shit. It made the fight feel a little bit real, even though they was kind of throwing these kicks kind of light and stuff like that. But it was good. I really enjoyed this match. It was really good. Really good. Kudos to both of these guys. I think Damien Priest goes off TV for a little while, probably until the Royal Rumble, and then that's probably the next time you see him. And or if they're desperate to just snatch him and bring him to Raw immediately. Because to be quite honest, he probably fits as an opponent for Roman a lot better. I think a lot of people, especially a lot of people I follow that follow wrestling, a lot of people that I talk to, they just see Damien Priest standing toe-to-toe with Roman Reigns. They could just see it. But I think that it probably, and maybe it's also because Keith Lee got moved to Raw, as well as Donovan Dijakovic and Mia Yim, and it's about time for SmackDown to get somebody. So, but I do think that he's probably needed more on Raw. But I fear what could happen to him on Raw. I really do. But I do think this is the end for him in NXT. It would suck that he would leave NXT without winning the title. And that's why I'm hoping I'm wrong, and maybe we revisit this match once Kross gets the title back, and we revisit this match, and maybe Priest could maybe win the title. I think you should win the title before you move up, but whatever. So the next segment was Adam Cole cutting a promo about the Dusty Cup and basically saying that Kyle O'Reilly was going to win the title. Okay, whatever. Match 2, Gran Metalik versus Santos Escobar for the Cruiserweight Championship. Okay, so Grand Metalik is really good. Now this was a little bit in slow motion. These guys were not working too fast for you to absorb everything, but they were still doing all of their stuff. And, of course, it helps that Santos Escobar is Mexican. So, obviously the language barrier is no language barrier. And, he got to do his lucha stuff, and Santos Escobar could do it and knew how to sell it. And it was good. They gave Metalik a lot of the match, and it was really fun. Escobar, kind of moved. He, this typical heel stuff with you're dealing with people who are wearing masks. You fiddle with the mask, and it kind of threw Metalik off a little bit. And Escobar hits him with his finish and wins. So it was a very solid match. They could probably do better, but it was solid. Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado on Twitter both said goodbye to NXT. So I'm guessing this was a one shot. They was going to come in just to do this match, and then they were gone again, which sucks. Let them stay. Let these guys stay. Please. Oh, it's too late, but if we could let Grand Metalik stay in NXT, that would be so good. And keep Lince Dorado with him. That would be awesome, man. That would be fun. But I guess we can't have too much fun. So what happened next was a vignette for Zaya Lee, where she did a weapons demonstration. She had a staff and she had like a sword or something like that. And I was thinking like, that's got to be interesting. What's going on with that? So then they said that she was coming up next. But before she came out, they played a Mercedes Martinez vignette where she was talking about, she doesn't care who's the baddest woman in NXT. She only cares about who's the champion. And she says that, all of these awards that Io Shirai won, she didn't seem so tough when she beat her up the week before or something like that. And I was like, okay. Mercedes Martinez does not sound comfortable talking, but maybe it's the script that she's being scripted, so she kind of sounds a little stiff. Because she's trying to say exactly what they want her to say. Because that's really why I didn't like the vocal part of it, but I liked the content. The content was fine. They need to loosen up with this script stuff. Maybe people need to not read exactly what they wrote and then put it in their own voice so you won't sound like a robot. But other than that, the promo is fine. So then we get Zaya Lee. Zaya Lee re-debuts. And my oh my, it was a grand entrance. The lights got cut out and the master is sitting on the throne, and on the left side is Zaya Lee. On the right side is Boa. And I don't know what that headdress Zaya Lee was wearing is called, but it's Chinese, obviously. And Boa looks like a fucking assassin with those shades and the suit. And, Zaya Lee is jacked and she's tanned. Like she's, she almost looks Korean. Like that's how tan she is. And her arms and shoulders are like yoked. I'm like, what in the hell? Why is she so well built? And of course, she did like a little WMAC Masters fight segment where she was sitting there with her sword. I think it was a sword she had or something like that. And she did a little weapons demonstration. And then she started her match, and she wrestled Katrina Cortez, who was Enmascaro. She was a Latino or whatever. She's wearing a mask. I feel like I've seen this girl before, but is that the Katrina from that wrestled on Raw? Because I don't know. I don't know. Because there is a Katrina in NXT, and she wrestled on Raw a couple of times. I think she wrestled against Zelina Vega. But I don't remember. I don't know if this was her or not. Either way it goes, Zaya Lee beat the shit out this girl. And Zaya Lee just did not really hold back, especially on that finish. That finish was wicked, dog. If you don't see nothing else from this match, watch the intro and then watch the finish. Jesus Christ. I don't even think she tried to pull that kick. It damn near tore her whole head off. It was amazing. It was way too stiff. I hope that girl, she owes her a dinner. She owes her a dinner. That bitch was loaded. That kick was loaded. It was cool though. So because Timothy Thatcher was injured, the fight pit had to be postponed, and I think that's bullshit. I'm gonna tell you, I think that what they understood is this card is too stacked. So what they decided to do is move Fight Pit to a different day, because I just feel like this is bullshit. It just felt like, oh, you've been telling me about the Fight Pit all this time, and now you're telling me Timothy Thatcher is injured. Bullshit. But Timothy Thatcher, he postponed the Fight Pit. I'm guessing they're gonna wait until AEW starts to want to do something, and they're gonna drop the Fight Pit on them like a nuke bomb. But whatever. So then we get a promo from Bronson Reed, who actually got to hear his voice for the first time, and he sounds slightly more masculine than I thought. For some reason, I just thought he was gonna be like a big teddy bear, but he actually sounds like a full-grown man. He doesn't sound, as tough as I wanted him to sound, but he doesn't sound too bad. And he says that he knows a lot about being out injured, but he takes that time to cultivate his inner savage, and they're gonna learn all about it in NXT. And then he picked Rhea Ripley to win the last woman standing match, and then we get to the last woman standing match, which was the best match of the night, period, on either show. And this match was tremendous. It was tremendous. They didn't hold anything back, man. They did a lot of shit. My favorite part is, Raquel Gonzalez ripping the cage, ripping the fence. She gets handcuffed to the fence because Rhea Ripley's about to beat that ass. So she handcuffs her to the fence, and Raquel Gonzalez knocks her back and then frees herself by ripping the fence, just like a monster. And I was just like, wow. Wow. Like that was great shit, man. The back body drop on the table where Rhea Ripley's back hit the edge of that table, and then the table just it just fell apart, and that was it, man. I was like, damn, that looked like it hurt. Like that's the kind of landing that put Shawn Michaels on the shelf for 4 years. There was some really crazy stuff, like she bashed Rhea Ripley in the head with the metal stairs twice, and then she still didn't I think she may have taken a bump, but she got back up, and then she booted her across the top of the ramp down the stairs, and they fought back into catering, and it got real crazy. Rhea Ripley tackled her through a glass window, and there was a senton through catering. It was crazy. These women were doing all kind of crazy shit to each other. And then out of nowhere, here comes Dakota Kai with a kendo stick, screaming and running down the hall, whack. And I was like, what in the hell? I was like, what in the hell? It made sense, though. It made sense for Dakota Kai to interfere in this match. I mean, she's Raquel's girl. Why wouldn't she? And I love that Rhea Ripley put her in a locker and locked it. She locked Dakota Kai in a locker. That shit was great. It was great. She was, Dakota Kai was violent, and I liked that they used her, but they didn't use her too much. This is what I mean, though. Look at how they did this compared to the Kevin Owens Jey Uso thing, right? Rhea Ripley fought her off without help, but then she completely nullified her by locking her in a locker, and she did it by herself. If Kevin Owens is going to fight the Usos, the bloodline by himself, he should at some point do something to eliminate one of those two guys, right? Theoretically, that's what you would do. And that's what they did here. This is why it made a lot more sense. You didn't need a run-in for anybody to save her. Not just because, it's just Dakota Kai and she's little, but it's also Rhea Ripley completely handled the situation by eliminating Dakota Kai. In a way that she couldn't get out of. She locked her in a locker. And so that was great. The end of the match came with let's talk about this for a minute. Rhea Ripley did use her submission hold. I forget what it's called. I think it's the Riptide is her actual finish. What the hell is her submission hold called? But when she ties up the legs, and then she kind of put a chair around Raquel Gonzalez's head, and she was pulling it. So it was the chair was a cross face. You can't win the match like that. it was just brutal, and it just looked cool. So Raquel Gonzalez wins the match by choke slamming Ripley off the stage into, a stack of tables and boxes and stuff. And she won. And Raquel Gonzalez proved herself to be the most dominant woman in NXT, even though she lost the previous match. So they probably owed a third one, but this match was badass, dog. This match rocked. Like, I really fucks with this, man. These girls are hard to top. O'Reilly and Balor was very good, but these girls are something else. It was a different level. So Johnny Gargano comes out to a police escort, which is probably not the best thing you want to do on a day like today. It's come out to a police escort, and people aren't really liking the police these days. So Johnny Gargano is talking about breaking his curse, and he gets a plaque for breaking the curse. And then he gets a family portrait, which is in the vein of the Fantastic Four. This was actually very good. The picture is awesome. It's like Austin Theory as the Thing of the Fantastic Four, and Johnny Gargano is like Iron Man. And, I think Candace was Candace the Invisible Woman? And I forget what Indy Hartwell was supposed to be, but it was basically like the Fantastic Four, like they were the Avengers or something like that. And they had like the Way W on their chest. It was actually pretty nerdy and dorky, but it worked in this context. So Johnny Gargano announced that he and Austin Theory will be entering the Dusty Cup. So I thought that was pretty cool. So then Shotzi Blackheart comes out, and Shotzi Blackheart is, she wants a piece of Candace. Austin Theory thought to get in her face, and she shot him in the dick with a missile from her tank. She shot this man in the dick with a missile from her tank because he was getting a little too close. So she shot him in the dick. I was like, you know what? There's a message there somewhere. And I know a lot of people who was like, with the Austin Theory accusations, what could be more apropos than shooting him in the dick? Oh, God. So after Austin Theory gets shot in the dick, Kushida comes out there to help Shotzi Blackheart keep the way off of her. And Shotzi takes that opportunity to get into a fight with Candice LeRae. And then Dexter Lumis, who is the host for this show, just rings a bell. Just like ding, ding, ding. And of course, because he doesn't talk, he's a mute. And everybody has to figure out, oh, he's making this a match. So it's a intergender mixed tag match. Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae versus Shotzi Blackheart and Kushida. Because Johnny and Candice were not prepared to wrestle, they were in street clothes. So, that kind of explained why they lost. Kushida pinned Johnny Gargano. I'm glad that Kushida got the win. Kushida needs to be Gargano's next opponent. Kushida needs that spot. Kushida basically needs that title. I mean, come on, man. The guy's been on the roster over a year. It's time for some of these dudes to actually start moving up, And I said it before, like Jake Atlas and Isaiah Swerve Scott and Kushida. These are guys who would be top guys if those other guys like Adam Cole and Tommaso Ciampa had gotten the fuck out of there. Like if they'd actually left, like the Undisputed Era, if they'd actually left, we'd be dealing with a completely different NXT crew. And I don't know if that would be better or worse, but we would be dealing with a different NXT crew. And some of these guys need to start moving. Even if it's just moving to a different thing. Like if Gargano and Theory are going to be a tag team, okay, then Gargano needs to give up that title so that Kushida can run with it, or somebody else. But I like Kushida, so let's go with Kushida. All right, so they announced the NXT Takeover 32 will be taking place on Valentine's Day, February 14th, which is fine with me. I don't know what that day that is. I don't know if that's a Saturday or a Sunday. Hopefully I'll have something else to do that day. Then William Regal announced that there will be a women's Dusty Cup, a women's tag team tournament, which I to be quite honest, I saw it coming. Now, the only problem I have with this is that it's called the Dusty Classic for women. It's called the Women's Dusty Classic. Instead of picking a female, maybe a female tag team wrestler, or even another female wrestler, and naming it after her. Like they just have such a hard time finding women to name things after. Like they had the Mae Young Classic, right? And they don't do those anymore for some reason. They need to just do the Mae Young Classic. Just do Mae Young Classic. Like, just do it. You need to fill up time for NXT anyway, right? Just do the Mae Young Classic. Just do it. But there has to be like a list of women where they could have said, okay, who's an important woman? It may be an important woman for tag team wrestling, just an important woman, period, that we can name this cup after. And I know that Dusty did a lot of things for the women too. I know that. But the important thing here is we can look at other people other than Dusty. That's what I'm saying. Like, we got one labeled the Dusty Classic already. We already got that. Let's do something for somebody else that's similar. But of course, the idea of the Fabulous Moolah has been ruined. I swear I want them to do something for Sherry. The sensational Sherry cup would have been fantastic. I love Sherry. I don't understand why they just don't want. I know it's got to be because of the drugs. It's probably the same thing with Miss Elizabeth because of the drugs. But they are like the most iconic women's personalities in WWE history. And it's a shame that drugs took them both. But for fuck's sake, you got to be able to find somebody. I mean, I was about to say, I was really about to fuck it up. I was about to say, name it after Trish Stratus or something, but like, no, don't do that. Trish Stratus is still alive. Find somebody who's dead, There's got to be somebody who's dead, who's a female wrestler, who is in some way, or somebody important, and name it after them. I don't see why they both have to be called the Dusty Cup. It just doesn't seem to make sense to me. Okay, so then we got the main event of the show, which is Kyle O'Reilly versus Finn Balor for the NXT Championship. And this match rocked. These dudes don't miss. They don't miss. This match was good. And, the story of the match was that Finn Balor was going to torture Kyle O'Reilly. And that is exactly what he did. He worked the body, and once he injured the jaw, chin area, he went for revenge. like, and I like how he got there. Like, he was working the body, because that's kind of where he started with in the NXT Takeover 31 match. Is he was working the body, and while he had him in this abdominal stretch, he had both of his arms occupied. So Kyle O'Reilly tried to break the hold by biting the middle rope. And the moment he did that, Finn Balor kicked the rope and jacked his jaw. And the match began in earnest with Finn Balor going straight for the jaw. You broke my jaw, I'm going to break your jaw. Stomping him in the face. 100 cross faces, trying to just really going too far. I love that Finn Balor, stuck his claim here as being a heel. He is a heel when it comes to Kyle O'Reilly. He doesn't like Kyle O'Reilly. He don't like this guy. So I like that the ringside doctor was kind of checking on Kyle O'Reilly a little bit, added a little bit of realism to it, even though there wasn't any blood. Kyle O'Reilly's skills, like he's a guy with skills, like he does a lot of smooth strikes, a lot of smooth offense, very, very good at escapes and counters. And I love that they did that. They did that with Balor and with Cross, where they would have these guys who are like really aggressive, but then the other guys like agile and fast, or the guy would be heavily skilled and he would be able to escape these things. And that's basically what Kyle O'Reilly was able to do. Like, you would have Balor being really aggressive and trying to use various submission holds or whatever, or various, attacks, and Kyle O'Reilly would hit him with like a combination and drop him. Or then he'll go for a submission hold, because that's his thing. He was able to work the arm and shoulder of Finn Balor, and that was kind of a thing that was keeping him alive in this match, is because Finn Balor was trying to get that submission with these crossface holds, But, Balor, because his arm was injured because of, Kyle O'Reilly actually working on him, he couldn't hold those holds too long. He had to let him go eventually. So that was really good shit. He even pushed, Balor's hands out of one of those cross faces where he just kind of like pushed upwards. And because of, the injuries to his arms and shoulders, he had to let it go. So that was very good. It was all very good. And the submission loss, the submission victory for Finn Balor seemingly came out of nowhere, but at the same time, it made sense. O'Reilly was winning. He charged Balor. Balor kicked him in the gut. Similar to NXT TakeOver 31. I know a lot of people hate callbacks because it's very New Japan and you had to have seen that match in order to get it. But in this story, they told the story that he had, injured ribs or injured abs or whatever. Not injured abs, but, injured abdomen. And Balor went after it. He had been working it with, various submissions and stomps and stuff like that. So it wasn't like it was a new thing. And he caught him slipping. Again, he caught Kyle O'Reilly slipping and kicked him in the stomach. And Kyle O'Reilly sold it very, very well. Like, he always sells it like a boxer or MMA fighter who gets caught with a body kick or a body punch that they didn't see. And so they kind of crumple, but they still want to fight. So, you have this natural, boom, I go down, maybe even turtling a little bit. And before you kind of get back into it. And then Balor put him in this abdominal stretch, a simple basic wrestling hold. And then he just added the crossface to it. So he was working the jaw the whole match and the abdominal the whole match. Now he's in the abdominal stretch with the crossface and he tapped out. Now I do hate that the cameras were close up on Balor and O'Reilly's face, that we didn't get to see the actual tap. That we basically just saw these, O'Reilly's face being pulled back and him, reaching for his jaw, and then the bell rang. So we didn't actually, and the crowd cheered. So we didn't really get to see the physical tap out, which is bullshit. WWE's production is too good for that. Come on, B. Fix that. So the match is over. And Finn Balor is standing dominant. He's bleeding from I think he got like a little scar above his eye or whatever. He's been in a war. And Kyle O'Reilly is sitting in the corner holding his jaw. He's got a case of the sads. Like his eyes are real watery. And he's beaten. And, and Balor is like, yeah, I got him. Got his bitch ass this time. I was right. I got him. Because this win was so decisive and so clean, we just can't do it again. Right? We have to justify a third one. And I don't think we kind of need a third one yet. In my formulation, we do the last NXT of the year, Balor, O'Reilly, 3. And then we have O'Reilly win. But then, of course, that would be non-title. It would just be for pride. Because I believe that Balor's probably going to drop this belt to Cross on NXT TakeOver 32. But what do we do now with Kyle O'Reilly, because he's lost? And everybody kind of thought that we were going to go into a Undisputed Era breakup storyline, because it seemed to make a lot of sense that we would do that. That we would go into Kyle O'Reilly wins the title and then Adam Cole would turn on him. But it seemed like, okay, so maybe we might be doing something different where Kyle O'Reilly actually just leaves the Undisputed Era. But it's real interesting. It's real interesting where they got going forward. It's obviously Cross is the next guy for Balor. We just about to set the stage for that. It's going to be in a month, so it ought to be cool. I'm kind of interested in what you do with Undisputed Era. They got Adam Cole and you got Roderick Strong. They're going to be in a Dusty Cup. No Bob Fish at all. So that means Kyle O'Reilly probably can take some time off. So this is a very solid episode of NXT. It doesn't leave much for the what's next, other than Kushida and Johnny Gargano and the fight pit, which they held off on. You're left with what next for Rhea Ripley, what next for Damien Priest, what next for Kyle O'Reilly, because these feuds ended and nothing new began, right? So, I mean, you obviously you're not going to take Kyle O'Reilly and put him on SmackDown and then take the rest of the Undisputed Era. So that's not about to happen. Rhea Ripley, she's become one of the faces of NXT. She's not in the way right now. She's just another major player in the women's division. But after losing this feud to Raquel Gonzalez, what do you do? Like, it's almost seemed like you have to move her to a different brand. And that kind of makes me think that maybe, just maybe, on the off chance that Charlotte wins the women's title on SmackDown, on Raw, and Rhea Ripley wins the Royal Rumble. And I think that idea would be excellent. So then you get Ripley, Charlotte 2, and instead of Charlotte, who beat Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 36, you get Ripley winning the title from Charlotte at WrestleMania 37. I love that idea. Now, yes, it fucks over Asuka. Yes, it does. But to make a 24-year-old Rhea Ripley a star, go for it. Asuka's 40. I love Asuka. I love Asuka like everybody else does, but Asuka's 40. She can make that sacrifice, that she could lose the title for the greater good. This is a legit greater good, though, because Rhea Ripley is the future. Rhea Ripley is young. She is the youngest woman. She's younger than Bayley. She's younger than Sasha. Sasha is the youngest of the 4 horsewomen. She's only 28. And Ripley is only 25. 24, 25 at that. I don't know if she's 24 or 25, but she's the youngest. And she's a fucking star. Go ahead and let her run. Go ahead, put the belt on Charlotte, and then have Rhea Ripley win the Royal Rumble. And Ripley Charlotte 2 at WrestleMania. Badass. Now, what about Bianca Belair? Because I know I've been really screeching very, very loud about Bianca Belair needs to win the Royal Rumble. She can win the Elimination Chamber, because you still have that second place, that second chance. And I think that Elimination Chamber match will be really good for, because then she gets 4 or 5, she gets 2 or 3 pinfalls. Instead of just throwing people over the top rope, she can actually get pinfalls. And that could be even, in some cases, even better, even though it's, not exactly you beating people one-on-one, but you are beating them. Similar to Shayna Baszler when she won the Elimination Chamber, and she came out looking very dominant, even though they decided to, and it's crazy thinking about it in retrospect, because everybody believes that Becky was pregnant during that match, and then they just didn't have Shayna Baszler win it. So, like, if you knew Becky was pregnant going in, you should have just had Shayna Baszler choke her out in like 2 minutes and then end the match. I mean, that would have been the best way to do things, right? I mean, or just, you really couldn't play the whole, she had to forfeit. But you could have just had Shayna Baszler choke her out in 2 minutes and send her home, and, we could have did something else. But Shayna Baszler gained a lot from dominating that Elimination Chamber. Of course, they ended up blowing it, but she gained a lot. And you could do the similar thing with Bianca Belair, just put her in the Elimination Chamber and have her kill it. But I definitely think that it'd be perfect poetry if Rhea Ripley wins the Royal Rumble while Charlotte is the women's champion, and she goes after Charlotte again. And she just says, this time it's going to be different. I love that. That's beautiful. Damien Priest, still don't know what to do with him. Still don't have any idea. But I think I figured out what I want for Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel. Spread the virus. Spread the virus that is 3 Count Commentaries. Hit that hashtag and drop the hashtag in different videos. I don't listen to everybody. I really don't. I just don't have that kind of time. I'm too busy trying to make content. I don't have a lot of time to consume it. If you guys really like what I do, even if you can't donate, be graffiti artists for me. And if you're into like the Wrestling Observer Online comment section or something like that, just drop hashtag 3 Count Commentaries in there, and maybe somebody will get upset and click it and look and see my videos. That would be great. I'd appreciate that. That's one way of helping the channel grow. Another is, actual donations. Either way is fine. I appreciate you just for sitting down, listening to what the hell I got to say. Thank you guys. Peace and blessings, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah.